Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to today's webinar. I'll make a start straight away. There's a few people who've sent apologies, and there's a few people that will be arriving, but I make it 3 o'clock, just past 3 o'clock, so we'll make a start. The session is being recorded as well, so if you want to recap or anything, or if you need to step away, we'll be sending out the recording and the slides after this as well. So today's agenda is to give you a programme overview, look at the Digital Educator Awards Scotland pathways, give you a roadmap and a timeline, and share with you why we think you should be participating in this and all the great benefits to the programme, and then next steps and getting started. So just to give you an overview of the programme aims, first of all, Digital Educator Awards Scotland recognises educators who excel in digital pedagogy and leadership and innovation. These awards are free and they're accessible to all educational practitioners, promoting inclusivity and broad participation across education sectors. And the award is consistent across all of Scotland's education sectors and phases and levels, so right from nursery and early years right through to higher education. The awards support professional learning as well, and you'll learn more about that today. The programme provides checklists for the use of AI in teaching and learning with guidance for both teachers and pupils. The Intel Skills for Innovation content as well provides a wealth of resources and structured activities and lesson plans and free training to enable educators to initiate curriculum-based digital learning and teaching activities. And the settings can immediately benefit from that content and its potential to roadmap progression. The awards also enhance digital capacity across the Scottish education workforce as well. It's really encouraging digital education by encouraging knowledge sharing and collaboration and strategic integration of digital tools in teaching. And the peer review, which I'll talk about a bit later, the peer review process, which is part of the programme, is designed to stimulate strong dialogue within and beyond your schools. The evidence required is practice-based and outcome-focused. And it's also, the awards programme is also aligned with digital teaching practices as well. So by linking the programme to key policy initiatives and current teaching and learning trends in education, it really incentivises the embedding of these agendas in a way that helps educators maintain their focus on supporting quality teaching and learning. So you'll see on this slide that the Digital Educator Awards Scotland is based on current teacher digital skills frameworks and guidelines on artificial intelligence, and the awards reference a number of European digital education policy initiatives as well. And you can see some of these, some examples of these on the slide. So let me just talk you through. There are 3 awards, so I'm just going to talk you through and give you an overview of each one. The Digital Educator Award is based on 5 criteria. It's assessed against 5 criteria, and you can see this on the slide here. So it's looking at leadership and vision, awareness of current and future developments, enhancing learning and teaching, communicating and collaborating, and looking at cyber resilience and internet safety. The Digital Educator Award is the first award on the pathway, and it's targeted at those working in the classroom, so on the ground, and doing really excellent work in digital within their classroom. So this could be an early years practitioner, a teacher, a teaching assistant. So this is not necessarily someone who's influencing others, but they are making excellent progress in using digital skills within the classroom. The next award is the Digital Influencer Award, and this is assessed against 3 criteria in looking at innovative practice, sustained use of digital tools to support and enrich teaching and learning, and looking at impact as well. So the Digital Influencer Award is for teachers. You might be a head of department or a digital lead in a nursery or a school or a local authority, or in another institution. And it's for those who can demonstrate how they are supporting and developing others in their digital skills development through formal or informal continuing professional development. So a digital influencer may be working across other schools in the cluster as well. Evidence for this award will focus on supporting others technically and pedagogically and not necessarily strategically. So this person is influencing horizontally. A digital influencer may not be in a position of leadership or authority, but is developing and influencing and supporting and training others. So the difference between the Digital Educator Award and the Digital Influencer Award is that the digital educator is making a difference within the classroom. The digital influencer is making a difference across the school or perhaps across schools in a cluster, and supporting other peers and colleagues to develop their digital skills. And then the third award is the digital leader, and this person is affecting strategic change. This is the big difference between a digital influencer and a digital leader. So the digital leader is making policy decisions, either in their institution or across schools in a cluster. Digital leaders have the ability to influence decisions and will probably be a senior teacher or a digital coordinator, perhaps a head teacher in a school. And the Digital Leader Award is assessed against 5 criteria, which you can see on the slide here. So we're looking at evidence against developing digital policy or strategy, impact of supporting professional learning, digital innovation, looking at sectoral policy implementation, and looking at using digital for audit as well. So you might be using technology to assess yourself against how good is your school, for example. So let me just talk you through the roadmap now. And this is just a visual of the steps involved in registering, which we hope that after today's webinar, you'll go away and register, and I'll talk a bit about that later. And I'm just going to walk you around this track, and lead into step 14, where you'll celebrate and share your success. So if we start at number 1, the first thing to do is to register on the Digital Educator Award Scotland portal. If you already are registered on the Digital Schools Award website, then you don't need to do that, and you can use the same login as you do for the Digital Schools Award, so you'll be able to log in. We will be launching the Digital Educator Award Scotland to everybody who wants to apply, and I'll share dates with you later, but you're attending this nice and early, so it gives you plenty of time to think about it and think about how you want to communicate it and promote it to your schools. So it's about a couple of months away before we'll be launching. And then people will, once they've attended that launch, we then encourage them to then register on the Digital Educator Award Scotland portal and log in and confirm the award or awards that they want to apply for. So if they could apply for more than one if they wanted to. And there are checklists to download on the Digital Educator Award Scotland website, and they're available in the portal as well to download. There's lots of resources to support applicants. But we've got a one-pager checklist that applicants can work through and see what their milestones are and what they need to work towards. Once the applicant has registered and had a look and decided on the award that they want to apply for, we then encourage them to look for a peer reviewer. And that is generally someone within their own school, but it might not be. It might be someone that they work with across in their cluster or somewhere else in their network. And they are also asked to register on the Digital Educator Award Scotland website as well, the peer reviewer. And then it's a matter for the applicant then to review their practice using the frameworks and the award criteria. When they register, they have statements to support them in looking at whether they meet the criteria or partly meet the criteria or don't meet the criteria. So they can carry out this self-assessment and then look at where the gaps are and then work towards filling those gaps. That might be that they want to attend some Intel Skills for Innovation training. And then lots of the training within Intel is really it's all really practical and hands-on, and the assessment at the end of the course is often to put together a lesson plan or some kind of learning artifact that they can then, after completing that course, go and implement that, and then as part of their criteria can use that to talk about, you know, I learnt this on the course and then I created this lesson plan, and these are the learnings from the lesson plan, and this is how I'll develop it further. So moving along the road, the track, the applicants will continue to work towards their award by working on their application, looking at reviewing the criteria, looking at assessing themselves against that criteria, gathering the evidence. They're likely to have lots of evidence already that they can upload to the portal, and then they can identify if there's any gaps and work towards filling those and addressing any of the criteria where they don't quite meet that. They'll also be invited to attend an Intel training webinar where they can get a full overview about the Skills for Innovation platform and the training that's available to them free. And that's something that they can do whilst they're working on their application or something that they might want to do after the programme. We also have writing retreats as well to support applicants. So one of the feedback that we get from applicants in the past is that time is their biggest issue in terms of being able to achieve the award. So we've blocked these this time, and we really encourage applicants to book on the writing retreats. And by booking on the writing retreats, they'll block time and be able to work on the application. These are optional. It's not essential that they attend them. It's not essential for you to complete any Intel courses. These are just all resources to help applicants and are there for them if you want to take them up. So you can attend one or all of the writing retreats. If people attend all the writing retreats across a sort of 3-month window, then that equates to the amount of time that we estimate will be needed to complete the application. So they'd have that time blocked. And at the writing retreats, there's an expert, a digital expert there from the Digital Educator Award Scotland who can support applicants and ask questions. It's time for them to be able to have some time to write. They can share examples of what they're working on with other colleagues if they want to share and get peer feedback, or a time to ask questions, or just a time to write. But that space is there as a nice place for them to collaborate with others as well. So they're travelling along the roadmap, they'll continue to keep working on gathering their evidence and reviewing the criteria, perhaps completing courses, perhaps attending the writing retreats, meeting with their peer reviewer on a regular basis. So that again is flexible and entirely up to the applicant and the peer reviewer to decide how that works. It could be over a cuppa over lunchtime, or something more formal, but nothing heavy, you know, 15-20 minute chat just to have a chat about the award, the criteria, and perhaps evidence that they're collating, and just be kind of that critical friend who can provide some constructive feedback. The peer reviewers and the validators will also be invited to attend training sort of later on in the timeline, and then the applicants will submit their application. Then the peer reviewers will then peer review the applicant's application that they've been working with. They should be familiar with the application and the evidence that's been submitted. So hopefully by that stage, that should be quite light touch to complete the peer review. The validator will then complete their review, and then it's a time to celebrate and share the success. So that's sort of high level what happens, and it's sort of an ongoing cycle during that timeline that people will be working on their application and reviewing criteria and doing what they would like to do to fill any gaps or attend training and attending the writing retreats. So this is a bit more detail on specific dates. So we are in March at the moment, so you're here for the introduction. And then in May, we will then have the introduction webinar for all the applicants. So between now and May, you've got lots of time as a local authority to think about how you want to communicate this. Whether you want to start to incorporate it into your newsletters, whether you want to do some targeted recruitment. You might have some individuals as you're listening to this thinking, oh, that person would be absolutely ideal for the Digital Influencer Award, for example. So you've got plenty of time. This is nice and early for you to think about how, as a local authority, you'd like to communicate and encourage people to sign up for the Digital Educator Awards. The Digital Educator Awards is a real opportunity for schools to really give a boost to their educators. It's a real good way for schools to be able to support professional development and really improve digital skills in the classroom and across educators and across the school and across clusters. And by individuals working towards these awards, they are assessing themselves against the criteria, being supported through training and development, through the writing retreats. On the portal, when they register, there's lots of resources to support them, lots of guidance and links to websites and policy documents and frameworks and everything that they need that they can dip in and out of and choose what they want to focus on. So it's a real good supportive program that by people registering and assessing themselves against the award criteria and then gathering their evidence, identifying gaps and then working towards addressing those gaps. That's really powerful for schools to see that development happening and that at the end of it all, they'll be awarded an award that will stay with them throughout their career. So lots of benefits, and I'll talk about a few more later. So the 6th and 7th of May, it's the same induction run twice, and they'll also be recorded. So if people can't attend live, they can listen to the recording. And then following that, Intel will run a 1-hour webinar to provide all applicants with a good overview of what the Skills for Innovation platform offers in terms of teaching resources, ready-made lesson plans, and lots of training. The training generally is between sort of 1 and 2 hours, and as I said, as part of the training, there's usually there's always a practical element where they might produce a digital artifact or a lesson plan. So it's really useful for teachers to complete a course and learn about something. So, for example, they might feel like there's a gap in their knowledge in terms of artificial intelligence, and they might think they've identified that by reviewing the criteria and think I'd like to brush up on my skills on that. So they could study a course in artificial intelligence and then be supported through the training to produce a lesson plan or a resource, and then after the training then go away and deliver that in their classroom. And that makes really good evidence to show how they use that, what was the learning, and how might they continue to develop their skills and use in the classroom. And then, as I said, there's ongoing writing retreats. So the first one is on the 20th of May. We have another one on the 1st of June. And then on the 10th of June, the peer reviewers and validators are invited to attend training for an hour, and we'll go through what's needed as part of that role. And again, that will be recorded. So if you can't make it live, you can listen to the recording. The writing retreats will continue in June and then the summer break, and then they'll continue back in August, a couple of more writing retreats before the deadline. We'll have an update as well in August for you, so local authorities can meet for a catch up and ask any questions and check on anything. And then the deadline for applicants is the 31st of August. Now, this is just to guide this timeline. So if people aren't quite ready for the 31st of August, they can continue working on their application and submit in the autumn programme. So this is the summer programme timeline. People tend to like deadlines and like a timeline to work towards, but we appreciate that things come up and things can be, it can be a busy time. So if it turns out that the applicants need more time, that's not a problem at all. So they don't need to feel that they're under any pressure. And then across September, the first half of September is where the peer reviews will take place. And then in the second half of September, the applications will be validated. And then in all October, it's a time to celebrate achievements. So as an LA, you might want to start to think about in October how you might want to celebrate thinking about press releases, or whether you want to have a special awards ceremony for educators that have achieved the awards, how you want to communicate that across your authority, whether you want to sort of start to arrange press releases, etc. So we can support you with that as well. But it's nice for you to think about how you might want to do that and incorporate into your communication plans. I just wanted to highlight the impact and some of the reasons why educators should join the DEES programme. So you will gain national visibility for your digital innovation. Successful applicants receive formal recognition of their specialist knowledge and practice, and this demonstrates expertise to both current and prospective employers. Unlike the Digital School Awards, which focus on a whole school approach, these awards are focused on the individual, so that the awards will stay with the individual forever, and they'll be able to take it with them throughout their career, whichever school they're at. As I said, there's lots of practical training and support for applicants, and that's the Intel Skills for Innovation program is really amazing. There's absolutely loads of courses, and that's a really good, strong benefit. And the spring program is currently taking place at the moment, and every week we have the certificates are issued for people who've completed courses. And we've had lots of questions and lots of interest from applicants in the spring program that's currently taking place, and people are finding lots of benefit from taking those courses and that professional development and being part of the Intel community as well. So there's a real collaborative community that develops. We have a Teams channel, so all applicants can post on Teams and ask any questions and share things, or share examples of artifacts that might be submitting for their award. There's the writing retreats for people to get together. Some local authorities have talked about everyone gathering together in a classroom for the writing retreats and sort of writing together during that time. So again, that can be a nice way to collaborate and talk about the awards and evidence. So you might want to think about ways that you might want to do that too. All applicants will achieve post-nominals as well, so they are entitled to post-nominals after their name, and so it's DSA-DE for the digital educator, DI for the influencer, and DL for the digital leader. So there's an example there of what the letters look like. So that's something that will stay with them as well throughout their life. They'll receive a certificate and a digital badge, and they'll be publicly recognised on the Digital Educator Award website as well. So the process for you as an LA is very easy. All we want you to do following this is to register yourself as well. So for you to register on the sign up form, and then for you to think about how you want to communicate between now and when the introduction starts in May, is also sharing the landing page for people to register. So it's really easy. We've put everything together for you so that it's not lots of work for you. We just ask you that you think about how between now and the launch for the summer program, how you want to communicate that, and the link with the landing page and everything that people need is there for you, and links to the actual website and then to the portal. We've put together some email copies for you, so we'll send the slides and the recording after this, so you'll be able to copy and paste this out, and you can adapt this however you like. But we've put together a suggested message for you. This is the landing page that you will that applicants will be sent to find out more about the awards and the roadmap, and links to the website, and they can then register to join. We've also put together some suggested graphics and social media messages as well. So they're all together in the pack as well for you to utilise, and internal communications for you to perhaps utilise in your newsletters or on your website. We also have lots of resources. So on the Digital Educator Awards website, we will have all the recordings and slides from everything that takes place. So the induction webinar and the Intel training and the writing retreats and training for the peer reviewers and validators. On the Digital Educator Awards website as well, all the links will be there for you to book on events across the summer programme. So if you want to attend the writing retreats or training, all the links will be there. Also, all the checklists are there. So there's a checklist for the applicant, a checklist for the peer reviewer, and a checklist for the validator. And there's very short video shorts to support applicants in each of the steps. So how to register, how to upload evidence, how to submit, and how to add their peer reviewer, etc. So they're only very short, perhaps a minute long, just to support people if they need to follow it along through the video. There's also frequently asked questions as well on the website. So I just want to talk, just to finish off, just to talk about the roles involved in this this collaborative program. So our role is to support communications and to facilitate discussion on the Teams channel, as I mentioned, and responding to questions and providing support on the logistics of the awards, facilitating training and facilitating the LA review meetings as well. We're here every step of the way for you and for all applicants. So any questions or anything that would be helpful to help you or help an applicant, just let us know. And as I said, there's lots of ongoing collaborative ways to be involved for the applicants, such as the writing retreats and the Teams channel and training. So your role is to encourage and promote the program and encourage people to sign up to the program. And as a local authority, someone within your team is likely to be a validator, or a couple of you might be validators for your schools. We encourage you also to promote the Intel Skills for Innovation professional development training. That's a real excellent opportunity for people to get that CPD. But as I said, that is there as an option. It's flexible, so people don't need to feel under pressure that they need to do that, and that's there for them throughout the program and beyond. So it might be something that they talk about in their award evidence. That next steps will be that they want to complete a program of courses. Your role is also to complete the validator reviews and obviously to support everybody in celebrating and publicising that success. There's also a link that we'll share to the registration form, a link for you that's not to be shared, and that will show everybody registered, so you can keep an eye on everybody that's registering. When you register as well on the portal, you can also, there's a way for you to be able to link all your schools who have applied for the award. So after the induction webinar in May and people register, you'll be able to have sight of everybody that's applying for the award in your local authority, which can be really useful. And the benefits from an LA perspective in terms of you supporting as a validator is that you get to see everybody, all your applications in your local authority, what all the best practice and fantastic things that are happening in your school. And that can be really useful for you as an LA to think, wow, that's, really great best practice. We need to get this school on a webinar to share that best practice. And you can really gain an oversight of everything that's going on in the school, and digitally what's happening in schools and best practice, which is really powerful and really useful, and perhaps difficult for you to be able to gain that oversight in that way and in that detail, and see evidence and pictures and whatever else that they might submit. So it's really beneficial for you as a local authority. And then Intel's role will be to introduce the Intel Skills for Innovation professional development modules. They will be hosting, as I said, specific training at the start, just to give you an overview of everything that's available to applicants. And they'll be there to support for queries and requests for assistance. They'll be available to respond to questions, and Intel also dip in and out of the writing retreats as well, to answer any questions as well. And they'll support with the recognition and celebrating awarded educators and issuing the certificates. So that's it in a nutshell. I didn't want to spend too long so that you've got opportunity to ask questions. So I'll stop sharing my slides and then open the floor for questions. So in terms of next steps, we really encourage you to go ahead and register, complete the sign up form yourselves, and then start to think about how you want to communicate this out ready for May and for the introduction, and share the link to the landing page so that applicants can start to sign up and perhaps start to talk about and communicate this to schools in your conversations when you're catching up with schools. Anna, did you want to add anything at this point?
No, I have a bit of a cold, so I wasn't speaking. But we also have Emmanuel from Intel on the call, and the Intel modules have proven very successful. And I think already through the spring program, we've got over perhaps 15 educators who have now received certificates of accomplishment and are going potentially on to become ambassadors for Intel. So, Emmanuel, do you want to just take a couple of minutes? I know we will have specific induction webinars and we will take participants through the detail, but for the local authorities that are on today's call, do you want to just briefly give a little bit of the Intel Skills for Innovation involvement and what participants can expect?
Absolutely. Thank you, Anna. Hello, team. Hello, everyone. Catherine, thank you for that wind-up pitch. I feel like joining also in the awards with all the benefits that it has outlined. And I'm with the Skills for Innovation team, in charge of global partnerships. This is not the first time we've partnered with DSA. We've had a couple of years of fruitful partnerships. So it was exciting to hear that there is a 2026 edition for this, and it's perfect in that Intel SFI has rolled out recently and the new courses that are more relevant to the educational trends, specifically AI, but more importantly, what does the shift for AI mean for the educator? And we've seen within a couple of weeks we've received well over 25 enrollments into the PD program, and like Anna said, it's actually ebbing to 20 at the moment. We will soon send another round of completion certificates. So it has been positive. The feedback, the acceptance from educators has been great. The benefit of the content is that beyond the award period, the content serves as relevant CPD, ongoing CPD materials. And to top it off, there is a vibrant SFI community, a global community of educators, educator groups, education influencers that you can connect to. It is one platform that we say with a lot of pride that gives teachers across the globe the much needed international visibility. So beyond the DSA awards, we would encourage that you join the SFI community, become involved in its programs, its outreaches, its webinars, and perhaps also become an influencer, not just for DSA, but also for IntelliSFI in Scotland, in your LAs. And we are available to support that. We are always keen to support any individual who takes these steps. So yeah, looking forward to your emails, to your progress in taking the courses, and also to your completions. And we remember, if there are any need for the technical issues with accessing the content, or perhaps you want additional information about the program and all, please do feel free to reach out to me, reach out to the DSA team. They would inform on what to do on that regard. So on that note, I'll pass it back to you. Thank you.
Super, Emmanuel. And I just mentioned that a lot of work has gone into the alignment between the training and the award pathways. So, educators don't have to go in and do a lot of digging to find, where's my level, what's relevant. So a lot of that has already been done. Now, anybody can take any module, so it's completely open to educators to take whatever module they want to. But we have tried to match each of the award pathways to the training that's available. So look, I mean, and Catherine shared the timeline. Intel are giving, dedicated training for Scottish educators. Emmanuel is joining the writing retreats to answer questions. So there's a lot of really great supports available. And it is a fantastic facility that, if any of the educators want to be involved in it, take up any of those training modules, that we will support them and help them and obviously celebrate their successes. Being an Intel ambassador is a great opportunity as well. You're on a global scale, and I'm sure Intel will have lots of lovely trips to really lovely places around the world as an ambassador for Intel. So, watch that space.
Great.
So can we open it up to you to ask any questions? I know there's quite a bit of information, but this is only the start, and the induction webinars don't happen until the first or the beginning of May. So there's at least a month and a half for you to look at the content, look at the communications, and maybe work it into your existing communications with the teachers and supporting professionals in the region. So we wanted to have this session to allow lots of time for that and to get feedback if there's anything that you needed in addition to today's session. So
is there anything that comes that is on anybody's mind at the moment? What are your sort of initial thoughts from hearing this? Yeah, Lynn, go ahead.
It looks absolutely fantastic, and I like the idea that it gives us a bit more of an oversight of what's happening in our schools, as people that maybe we're not aware of that are doing some amazing things. I'm just conscious of the timing in terms of the communication that's just went out from our authority in terms of not strike action, but the not quite, what, I can't remember the terminology before it. I'm just wondering if it might be poor timing at the moment for us. I don't know what anybody else thinks around that. Maybe I'm preempting something that's not an issue, but I don't know what other folks are thinking. Yeah, but just possibly wrong timing, but it doesn't stop us from obviously pushing it and, keen to be involved, absolutely.
Yeah. Look, absolutely. And, a lot of the thinking around this program actually came out of the experience of teachers during COVID and how much, there was to sort of grapple with in terms of, working in blended learning and having to sort of, deal with sort of a lot of different sort of challenges that came out of that experience. And I think one of the things we wanted to try to do was create a program similar to the Digital Schools Awards, which you'd be familiar with, that was really there as a way to sort of support teachers in their different capacities. And this, you're right, Lynn, I couldn't, timing can be a challenge then. So we're hoping with the funding that we've secured from our partners, HP and Intel, that this will be a 4-year program. So if now is not the right time, we would totally understand. And it is optional. So if it isn't the right time, 100% come back to us when you think that as a local authority you feel would be better. There may be, educators and also support staff that would like to participate, but maybe want to take more time than we have indicated. And that's 100% possible too. So our timelines are guidelines. So if somebody wanted to review it and maybe do some training, but on a much more limited scale, they can apply because it's a self-paced program. So they can, when they're ready, they can add their peer reviewer and add their validator, and they can do it at that time. So there is no deadlines, only the deadlines they set themselves.
Yeah, and I think just when in your communication, to appreciate that it's a challenging time, and completely understand that priorities are elsewhere, and that the program is optional and it's designed to celebrate their work and support their professional development, and is something for them individually rather than like the Digital School Awards that are for the school, and that it's completely optional, but there for them. So personally, I would still communicate it despite the strike action, and it's up to the individual then. Julie, you had your hand up.
Hi. I really just wanted to say that I think it's a fantastic opportunity. When I heard about this at the National Technologies Network meeting, I was really excited. I think it's a great opportunity to capture, as Falkirk said at the time, and several others in the chat have said, to capture the sort of pockets of skills that we might not be aware of because those staff maybe aren't as good at articulating that they have expertise. And I think it's going to be really helpful, especially for teams like myself that are kind of on their own, trying to support, that we can maybe draw on that expertise and ask for their help to support colleagues in the area. I totally appreciate what's been said about the sort of strike action, but nothing is set in stone, and we can't keep putting things on hold. It may all change at the last minute and not happen. It may go ahead. We just don't know. And I think, as you've said, letting staff know that the programme is there, and that if they're interested, they can go ahead. Some staff may be keen to take that time, even if they are on strike. It just depends, to develop their own personal skills. I've had quite a number of staff in the authority discuss the fact that their schools are just not ready for the Digital Schools Award, and they feel as though they're putting in a lot of work and are maybe excelling in their own classrooms and their own experiences, but feel like they're not getting anywhere. And I think this is a really great opportunity to say, well, thank you for keep on going. And we see what you've put in, and we see the skills that you've brought, and your school might not be ready for it yet, but we acknowledge that you've come on a journey too. So thank you.
Yeah, lovely points, Julie. Really, really valid points. And you are right. If that is a school where they're not quite ready for the Digital School Award, one or more applying for the Educator Awards could be the real boost that school needs, and that could be a catalyst for them. And like you say, it's a real lovely opportunity to find those gems in schools. And across the LA, it can be a real opportunity for you to sort of support schools in having that consistency in skills, so you can see where that best practice is happening and where there's really excellent examples of digital skills, and that they can then work across the cluster perhaps of their schools and support levelling up and supporting other schools to develop their skills to the same level as well. So loads of benefits that come out of this. Thanks, Julie. Really, really lovely summary there.
Yeah. And I might, Derek, go ahead.
Derek, go ahead.
I can jump on the back of what Julie was saying. I'm eager as well to find out about things that are happening in Fife. With being one of the central teams, I think one of the opportunities this is going to give us is for those people who are not school-based, some of our support settings and things like that, who they can't apply for the Digital Schools Award simply because they're not in a school. But as Julie said, people who are individually doing really great, excellent work, leading, supporting practitioners in schools. So it's a chance for them to get a chance to shine without, having to worry about their setting. I am mindful, I would say, in Fife, we've got the central teams are doing a restructuring, and I'm just mindful of what that means for us in terms of identifying our facilitators, because I don't want our staff to sign up for this and then our facilitators change role and they're not able to continue that on. So I'm going to have to obviously speak with our team about who's making sure that's sustainable. But that's a Fife challenge to overcome. But it's just something that's what's in my mind now for my next steps, is to make sure that's sustainable for that.
And, if you think about the summer program inductions in beginning of May, you probably have until beginning of April anyway before you'd even have to identify who your validators are, because the process of adding your validators for the summer program could happen as late as August, because we're trying to set some sort of times. So we would be proposing that applications get completed at the end of August, at which point peer reviewers and validators would be added, and then there's a 2-week window for peer review followed by a 2-week window for validation. So I wouldn't necessarily put it off, because you don't know who might do that role. And you could even substitute in a generic email address that validator, when they are identified, would be able to access and so there's a few things we could do there, Derek, around working with you on that.
Yeah, the validator is really late on, that we would need to, like, even a day before validation starts. The peer reviewer is more important to identify early on, so that relationship between the peer reviewer and applicant can start, and they can start to have those professional conversations together. Question from Rosalind: can 2 people apply for the Educator Award and act as a peer reviewer for each other? Yes, they can.
Yeah, and some of the feedback from the pilot, we improved the platform. Amanda, who is on the call, will definitely associate with the pain involved in doing the pilot. But now, when you register with us, your role, whether it's applicant, peer reviewer, or validator, are all under a single profile. And there's a tabbing system where you'll just be able to go in and you'll be able to see your applications that you're applying for, or you can see your applications where you're a peer reviewer. So it's set out on the platform so you can have multiple roles under a single login. So you could be an applicant, and you can be a peer reviewer, and you can be a validator, and they will all be visible under that single profile. As a local authority, thanks. Yeah, I know, Amanda, it's never perfect, but it's definitely better. But as a local authority, I also want to mention that if you're familiar with the Digital Schools Awards, if you have an account with the Digital Schools Awards, you can link all the educators in, say, Fife or Falkirk to you as a local authority. So under the Digital Schools Awards map, all of the educators who are applying will then be visible under you as a local authority. And then when they're awarded, all of the awarded applications will also be visible there. So it's a great way as well to showcase as a local authority all of the recognised educators and support staff and classroom assistants. So that's just one aspect again of being a local authority and seeing all of the educators, under your own region, which is something that we created. So there's a link up between the database in the Digital Educator and the Digital Schools Award. So many schools we're seeing, and Julie, to your point, there are schools that are registered with DSA who don't have the award, but they now have linked their educators who are applying for the award to their school account. And so those educators will be recognised, under the Digital Schools Award platform. And so I think that's a nice way to sort of say, whilst we may not be ready as a whole school, we are building up skill sets, the competences. We're giving recognition to the teachers and the support staff who are doing great things. And that then will help them in their next phase, which may be going towards the whole school award. I better stop talking. Okay. Is there any more questions? We don't want to keep it too long. The recording and the slides will be shared, and you are all welcome to get in touch with us individually if you have specific questions, or if there's something unique to your local authority that you want to talk to us about, or if you would like to have Catherine or one of our team attend one of your network events with educators to talk about the programme. You just get in touch with us through the usual, like through IFA or info, and we'd be able to, work with you on that. So, I think there's an opportunity for us to work with you and for the local authority to be recognised in this programme. And so I think there's a key role there in terms of communicating, encouraging, but also informing and supporting. And Jenny, I don't know if you want to mention within your local authority whether you created any specific regional priorities for your educators, which again is something that some of the local authorities have decided to do. So above and beyond the criteria in the pathways, as the validator, you can also assign some core, strategic priorities that you have for your local authority. And any educator that goes for the award as the validator, you'll be able to view whether they've achieved those strategic priorities. So that is possible, and some of the local authorities have decided to do that, adding on some additional evidence requirements. All right, thanks, Jenny. Yeah. Perfect.
I mean, the feedback that we've got from educators who have either achieved the award or are in the process of at the moment, it has been really positive, and everybody really welcomes the opportunity, like you've recognised today, and that it's really good for educators to be recognised and really shine a light on such excellent practice that's taking place in schools, and to be, have that difference between that point of difference between the Digital Schools Awards and the Digital Educator Awards, to really support individuals in being able to have that recognition.
Wonderful. Well, Catherine and Emmanuel, thank you so much for taking everybody through the programme. And we will send you on all the material. Do get in touch with us. There's lots of time between now and May. You have the link to the sign-up form, so you can review it and see how many educators within your region have been signing up. And if you feel like you need to give a little push, there's lots of time to do that. The 2 induction webinars, it's great if they can attend them live, but again, they will be recorded. And from those induction webinars, we will be communicating regularly with all participants. So they'll get lots of opportunities to participate in the workshops or Intel training, writing retreats, the validator and the peer review training. So everything is recorded, so they can always do it at their own time. But we feel that certainly the experience we're having so far is that it is helpful for anybody who wants to feel that they are being supported and that there are milestones to meet, that those are there. But for anybody who wants to do it at their own time, that's also possible. So just to bear that in mind. And the final thing I'll say is, look, commiserations in advance, in anticipation of the weekend's festivities, the Ireland, Scotland, Six Nations, we're so sorry for your loss, and hopefully you'll still be talking to us next week.
And just one final note as well is that all we're asking you is to communicate this out and share the link to the landing page, and then all communication from that point, we will manage all of that. That will be managed by Digital Educator Award Scotland. So we'll invite them to the webinar, the induction webinar, and all the future events, and we'll send all the reminders about the writing retreats and so on.
Lovely. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really useful. Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks all.